Steph gave him 37 in 29 minutes. 37 in 29 minutes, knocking down 9 threes. Steph's on pace to make 445 threes, which would shatter the all-time record of 402 set back in 2016 by a guy named Steph Curry. What are the odds? This was Steph's 37th game with 9 threes. No other player has more than 9 such games in their career. It was his 23rd career game, scoring 30 points in fewer than 30 minutes, the most in NBA history. Let's welcome NBA analyst Tim Legler. Legs, what's going on? All right, so the Warriors dismantle the Nets, and they still even haven't gotten Klay Thompson back yet. We know he's been cleared for full contact drills. How close, here's my question, how close to the pre-KD Warrior championship Warriors teams is this team, this Warriors team right now, do you think?
Well, I think when it's all said and done, Max, they're going to be right there with them. Certainly, I watched them, and it reminds me of what that was like when Steph Curry was winning MVPs pre-Kevin Durant. But they're not going to be there fully until they get Klay Thompson. But here's one thing I am seeing. It's very similar. Their defense, the quickness, the versatility, the number of things they can switch, the young, active legs that they have with some of their role players. This team plays with a tremendous amount of energy, and they're number 1 defensive rated team in the NBA. So that reminds me a lot of those teams, because those teams never got enough credit defensively because we were so focused on this shooting display that we had never seen with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. So when it's all said and done and the smoke clears, I actually think this can be on par with those teams. And clearly right now, they are the favorite. This is the best team in the NBA, and they're going to get better. So the only question that remains is, can any of these other teams that right now are missing pieces, when they get those guys back, can they close the gap? Brooklyn, obviously, one of those teams with Kyrie Irving.
Before we get to Kyrie, though, I think back to those Warriors teams pre-KD. And Legs, they shouldn't have won any titles pre-KD. They won the first one only because LeBron was missing Kyrie and Kevin Love like he was by himself. Matthew Dellavedova was the second best player on the team, and they still went 6 games. It was pretty clear to me Cleveland would have won that series. And then the following year, they actually lost to LeBron and the Cavs. So though they had a championship, I never really think of them as the best team in the league back then. If that's where they are, is that enough to win a championship? Because they don't have KD anymore.
Well, I think it's going to be enough to win a championship for a couple reasons. I actually think Steph Curry is better now than he was during those back-to-back MVP years. I also think now you're going to add, let's just assume you add a healthy Klay Thompson to the mix, and he's resuming 5-on-5 workouts. So that sounds like it's imminent. It's right around the corner. I think there is something else culturally about this organization that, if you think about it, when other star pairings have been put together, they're the only guys we talk about. Every time 2 star players go and they pair up, that's all we talk about. With Golden State, the role players are so empowered because of the style and the system and the way it moves, the importance of those guys. I just think there's something special about the chemistry that the Golden State Warriors can create. They just look like they have more fun than anybody else in the league, and I think that matters. And I do think this team defensively can be even better than those teams. You got to remember, they're also missing James Wiseman, and Klay Thompson is a top 5 perimeter defender in the NBA. When they get those guys back, I think this is a team that maybe could look even better than those 2 teams that Steph Curry won MVPs with.
It's a great point. If you have Steph and Dre, that's really the team. The guy who reinvented the game and his pick-and-roll partner that do everything on defense, can play 5 out with him guy. Anyway, Nets coach Steve Nash said his Brooklyn squad, Legs, and that would be an obstacle to winning a championship for the Warriors, is not one of the NBA's elite teams yet, and that the loss showed that this team misses Kyrie Irving. Do they need Kyrie to win a championship?
Oh, definitely. And I thought Stan Van Gundy did a great job on the broadcast of pointing out who they've beaten during this stretch when they're winning games and they get to 10-4. And if you start to think, oh, they've got it all figured out, if you really dive into the schedule, it does matter who you play in the NBA. And so now this was a test. This was a barometer game. Where are they right now? James Harden is starting to look more like himself. Kevin Durant obviously is playing in an MVP clip. So let's see where they're at. And you saw cold water get thrown in their face pretty much from the middle of the second quarter on. This was not a competitive game. Golden State's a different level right now on both ends, and that's what Steve Nash is saying. His team saw that up close and personal. Now, James Harden's going to continue to get better. They were also missing Joe Harris. Claxton wasn't there. And now you add a Kyrie to the mix at some point. Who knows? We cannot pass judgment yet on the Brooklyn Nets. We just can't. Much easier to see what we think Golden State is going to look like when they are 100%. I really don't know that with Brooklyn because Kyrie barely played with those guys last year.
Yeah, if Kyrie's healthy, I like Brooklyn. I don't care. If they're healthy, I like Brooklyn. But Joe Harris wasn't there in the playoffs last year either, and he was on the court, but not there. They got to figure that out. Elsewhere in the NBA, some good news for the Pelicans. Finally, Legs, Zion Williamson has been cleared for one-on-one contact drills. He's missed every game this season, recovering from a foot fracture. The Pelicans said that Williamson will undergo further medical imaging in a week on November 24th. Legs, real quick, because we're tight right now. What's your level of concern for Zion going forward?
Very high. I just think the number of lower body injuries he's had already in his career concerns me a great deal. The weight fluctuations concern me from off-season to off-season. Now he's coming back into a losing environment right now, and that's not great either. So I'm very concerned. I hope I'm wrong. I'd love to see Zion Williamson come back, stay back, and finish out the year healthy. But I do have concerns. A guy this young that's a freak athlete that's had this many lower body injuries.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.